Hi there, I'm back. I'm Jackie, and this is part 4 in my Lighthouse workshop series. And in today's video, I'm going to talk to you about making a pattern. Here you see my pattern for my sea glass lighthouse mosaic that I'm going to complete on this vintage 6-pane window. So let me show you how I did this. Okay, so now I need a pattern because I find that if you have a really good pattern when you're doing a sea glass mosaic, it really helps you do an effective mosaic. So the first thing you want to do, I cut a piece of paper the size of my window, which is 31.5 inches wide and 27 inches high. I find it helpful to write these measurements down on my pattern. And then each pane of glass measures 9 inches wide and 11.5 inches tall. Plus you have to draw in the mullions. So the mullions are the pieces of wood that divide your panes of glass. So be sure to draw those in because that makes a huge difference in your pattern. And then what I did, this is going to be a lighthouse sea glass mosaic. So the first thing I did was I drew a lighthouse. And then what I traced that lighthouse onto my pattern. But if you notice here, my lighthouse is a full lighthouse, but I decided where I wanted it positioned on my overall piece, and then I drew it on, but I left out the mullion. Now if you don't do this, what would happen if I just cut this and then put part above the mullion and part below, it's not going to be proportioned properly because you're missing that piece. You got a gap in your pattern. So be sure to do that when you're doing your patterns. And then I also did the same with my sailboat. I drew a sailboat, and then I decided I wanted the sailboat right here. So I drew it on, but I took out the mullion in the pattern. So part of it's on this pane of glass and part of it's on this pane of glass. If you want to download a copy of my pattern, you can go to my website, jackietrimperseaglass.com, and I do have the pattern and instructions for this. And you can use my pattern exactly as you want, or you can draw it however you like. Maybe you want your beach line a little bit different, because I drew in a beach line with a cape over here. I drew in a path from my lighthouse down to the base of my piece. I drew in a piece of driftwood, and I wanted to put a couple of nunchucks there, and I drew in some clouds and the sun. Now, very important point, decide how much land, water, sky you want. You might want to go roughly a third, a third, a third. I have varied that a little bit. I really like great big dynamic skies, so I went a little bit greater than a third for my sky. But you could make a tiny little sky and have it mostly water, or you could have mostly beach, a little bit of water, and then the sky. So think about that, the proportion of your sky, water, land. The other thing to think about is your horizon line. Where do you want your horizon line? And I decided I wanted my horizon line here because I want this much sky. And draw your horizon line really straight. This is the only line that really matters in your piece, is to make sure that your horizon line is straight and that it's at right angles with your side of your piece. So I put in lots of detail. I put footprints in the sand, I put a turtle over here, I put a few more sailboats out in the water. I kind of like uneven numbers, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sailboats. I put in 3 birds that I'm going to make in blue from a blue sea glass. I put in 3 clouds. I put my sun up here with some rays coming down from the sun. This just means, this is a reminder to me that I want to arrange my sky mosaic pieces of sea glass in a way that it's very flowy lines and looks like rays coming from the sun. And the other thing you want to do is to write down the color that you want to put in each one, because when you're working on this really close, sometimes you can make a mistake and start to fill in a particular area brown when it should be green, or vice versa. So I always write brown, driftwood, here I haven't written in because I know that I'm just going to pick out some good Inukshuk pieces. White pottery here. I'm going to put a pride flag on my sailboat, so I've written that in. I've written green for the water, white for the sky, blue, white for the lighthouse, brown for the roof and that roof. Green, I want some green trees here. I want little white pebbles at the base of my lighthouse. I want a stone walkway here. So write in as much detail as you can when you're doing your pattern. Now the other thing that once you get this done, and make sure it's the right size for your piece, what I do is I trace each pane individually. You can either trace each pane individually or you can cut it out. I'm using this pattern for a demo for a workshop that I'm doing in person with people. So I don't want to cut it up because I want to show it to people. So what I've done is I've traced on a piece of paper all 6 panes. So then I can just take those pieces of paper off and tape them to the back of each pane of glass, and then I'm all set to go with my sea glass mosaic. So I used quite a bit of tape to tape the pattern onto the back of my frame because this is going to take me quite a while to finish this whole sea glass mosaic, and I don't want my pattern to start falling off the back. So thanks so much for joining me for this video. I am so excited for our next step, which will be deciding what we're going to use for materials for the sea glass and all the beach treasures. So be sure to join me for my next part of this Lighthouse Workshop series. And until next time, I hope you make it out to the beach, and happy sea glass hunting.